Hey y'all, welcome to Big Texas Bossin, the show that spills the Texas tea on bossing up, tossing coins, and living your biggest and best life on your own terms. I'm your host, Lalanii Wilson Jones.
It's time for Big Texas Bossin with Lalanii Wilson Jones. Spilling the tea on bossing up.
When I decided to host a podcast, I knew that for me, fashion would be as an important and integral piece of my podcast and personality as any of my awesome guests and intriguing topics. For me, my tribe, and much of my audience, fashion is a way of life. It's the beginning, the ending, and all of the in-between. Ever since I was a little girl, I've been in love with fashion. I'm intrigued by how small statement pieces can make a huge difference in a look. I'm intrigued equally by how a look can make a statement that can make a huge difference in your life. I enjoy communicating who I am and the things that matter to me through my style. With the help of my incredible stylist and creative director, Style Belle Felicia, I deliver a myriad of looks from top-tier European designers to emerging local creatives. Shoes, handbags, jewelry, and other accessories are fundamental to my well-orchestrated and executed look. No matter what size I've ever been, I've always found that these pieces are essential. I've always loved hair color, texture, length, and width. My amazing wig artist, the one and only Mia, has designed a plethora of quintessential custom wigs that are valued equally in the totality of the look. I would be remiss not to talk about the icing on the cake, which is the makeup. Every girl likes to look and feel pretty on her terms. My bomb.com makeup artist, Miguel of Dallas, has never disappointed. The icing on the cake makes a huge difference for me, and I'm so honored to be able to elevate my game by delivering full and complete looks from head to toe. I realize that fashion and style may not be for everyone. I definitely respect that. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. However, remember, for your girl, fashion and style are part of the decorum and just as important as the content. I'd love to have you tune into Big Texas Bossin every week on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You've got to subscribe and watch us on our Big Texas Bossin YouTube channel so that you can keep up with everything going on. And follow us on our socials. We love likes at Big Texas Bossin, and visit our website, BigTexasBossin.com, to see how we get down with our runway looks and weekly homage to fashion's finest. Today on my fashion segment, I'm very excited to welcome celebrated Big Apple stylist Harrison Thomas Crite.
Yes. Hi, how are you guys? Hey, Texas.
Hey, Texas is doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm in a big city as well, New York City.
All right. We love the NYC. So just so y'all know, Harrison is the textbook definition of booked and busy. He's responsible for Fashionista looks all over the country and notable public figures such as Akon, K. Michelle, Anthony Hamilton, Angela Simmons, and B. Simone. Harrison T. Crite is an international fashion editorial stylist and image consultant based in NYC. Harrison is setting the standard among the fashion elite, impressing the industry with his eye for cutting-edge style. He possesses the ability to mix labels, looks, and trends by creating memorable moments for celebrities. With humble beginnings from Memphis, Tennessee, he's from the South. Harrison accredits his hustle to being raised in a single-parent household by his loving mother and having a supportive church family. Today, Harrison and I are going to talk about how a young man from Memphis, Tennessee, broke into the game of fashion and styling, how he landed some of the most coveted styling gigs, and what it takes to elevate and maintain in the dog-eat-dog world of fashion. Harrison, tell the Big Texas audience a little bit about your roots in Memphis and your love affair with fashion coming out of Memphis, Tennessee, which is not known as a fashion icon place.
Well, I mean, what an introduction. said, I'm from the South, born and raised, 901, Memphis, Tennessee. And you're right, the South is not necessarily known for fashion. However, Memphis has its own sense of style. I think if we're from the South, be it Memphis, be it Texas, the city has developed its own fashion, and it might not be on mainstream, but you totally get it. So I'm from a place where everything is super matchy-matchy, you're matching colors, and that's probably where I got my first sense of fashion from, just going to church. Of course, that was the big fashion show where we got to dress up on Sundays and put together looks, and I just kind of developed a love for fashion there. I'm very fortunate I have a very fashion-forward family, so for family reunions or for holidays, when we all got around, we all dressed, and I think that's where I got my sense of style from. My mom, my grandmother, my aunt, my uncles, they all had a great sense of style.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about where you studied fashion? Just kind of what led you, at the point that you knew, hey, I'm going to be a fashion designer / stylist, what were your moves from there?
So it's crazy. I never formally studied fashion. And I think, unfortunately, we get this notion, especially being from the South. I went to college in Tennessee as well, and there was a fashion department, but 18 years old, straight out of high school, going to college, fashion was not on my mind. I always liked to dress, but that was just my personal style. I never in a million years would have thought that I could have had a career with actually dressing people, getting paid, and that's how I was paying my bills. So I went to school for a marketing degree, and through there in college I pledged. I made friends, and it was really getting out of college. I always had a retail background, and I always loved customer service. I love to help people at the retail stores put together outfits, and of course I had like an extensive client book because I literally love helping people put together outfits. So that was kind of like my introduction into styling, not really understanding what that was. And then I got into photography, so I used to take pictures and I used to style the photo shoots. Again, not necessarily giving myself the title of a photographer or a stylist, but just kind of expressing myself and doing what I love creatively. New York was always a place I knew I wanted to live. Of course, it's taught to us in school as the place for dreamers and fashion. So once I moved to New York and I kind of saw the industry for what it was from behind the scenes, I knew that this is definitely what I wanted to do.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, where did you go to school and what did you pledge?
I went to Middle Tennessee State University. So a lot of people don't know about Middle Tennessee. It's in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, which is about 30 minutes from Nashville. Most people are familiar with TSU. So we're 30 minutes from TSU. And I studied marketing and I pledged Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity.
Okay, so you a Kappa. Okay.
Well,
right.
A lot of people don't know that. So, I mean, I don't necessarily talk about it. If you know, I post on this day, the people that know, but I don't post it a lot. So I guess that could be an exclusive.
Right. Okay. Well, Big Texas Bossin got the exclusive. I love it, Harrison. Thank you. Harrison's rise to being a well-recognized fashion stylist started with interning for 106 & Park on the BET network. From that platform, he gained an on-air clientele with E!, ABC, and NBC. Outside of celebrity styling, Harrison has also made a name for himself in the editorial world. Harrison has received recognition within the industry, with his clients obtaining the best dress accolades from numerous red carpets, launches, premieres, and award shows. He has actively participated in New York Fashion Week, London Fashion Week, Milan Fashion Week, and the Shanghai Fashion Week. You've got to spill the tea on how you've garnered such a level of success in one of the most fiercely competitive sectors in the world.
Wow. So speaking on 106 & Park, so my very first year moving to New York, I was horrible with directions. I'm from the South. We had a car. I'm going to put you back. I'm going to tell my age. I had a TomTom GPS in the car. So I relied heavily on that. So coming to New York, the first year, I literally just got lost every day. So I had to learn the subway system. I had to find my way. So I really wasn't focused on fashion. And I feel like I'm glad I gave myself a year to get acclimated to the city, to transportation, to money, to working. I just had a lot of things going on. Fortunately, I had already had internship with New York Fashion Week. So while I was living in Memphis, I came back home after I graduated, and I started just looking for internships online and ended up getting linked to a brand where I was able to go to New York Fashion Week. So before I moved, I had already been to New York Fashion Week twice working. Okay. So by the third year, I had networked with New York Fashion Week. At the time, BET had Ripped the Runway, and then there was another organization called Harlem's Fashion Road that was having a fashion show. I ended up booking myself on all three to work, and so I needed to kind of be in New York for a month. Fashion Week was the 1st of September, Ripped the Runway was in the middle, and then Harlem's Fashion Road was at the end. And I just decided to just move. I'm like, I think it makes sense if I have to be there for a month. This is the time to step out on faith and just make it happen. So after kind of working and interning for like a year, just like here and there, because it's kind of hard, honestly, to kind of figure out what to do. I made sure I was at every event that I found out about just to network, passing out business cards, probably being more aggressive than what I should have, but it ended up paying off. Right. So speaking of Tampa Alpha Star, I reached out to one of my frat brothers who was a producer for BET, and I'm like, I've been here for a year. I haven't really broken ground in the fashion industry. Like, I'm emailing people aren't really getting back to me, and I'm just kind of like a fish out of water. So he connected me to the BET fashion director, a lady named Texana Watts, and she gave me an opportunity. So that's how I ended up getting an internship with 106 & Park. This was around the time where Terrence and Roxy were the hosts. And so I used to intern with Terrence's stylist, Quasi, and I was just ripping and running in the city, grabbing clothes, helping them in fittings and all of that. And from there, I ended up getting a chance to go to the BET Awards, my first year interning at BET, which this really just brought me to a whole nother spectrum of what my life could be. So I worked in the wardrobe trailer and Swiss Beach Stylist at the time, which is a guy named Mike B, who's like a legend in New York for styling. Ended up bringing like a Givenchy outfit that he needed stained, and I stained it for him. And then later that day, I ended up staining Swiss Beats in it. At the time, I didn't know who it was. And I'm like, wow, I touched that. I stained that, and it just, for me, just gave me a sense of like credits, whereas I was that close to potentially like, doing something with someone or just being behind the scenes. So I think it kind of gave me my first sense of styling and just accountability, and I just was like, wow, if I could finish these clothes, I could dress this. So now I have to just figure out how to get clientele and how to move forward. So it definitely wasn't a walk in the park. It was a lot of interning, a lot of work for free, a lot of unpaid opportunities, but yeah, you just keep going forward.
Right. It definitely sounds like the struggle was real, and with you, I would think. Because you didn't have the background, people were hesitant. So how did you sell yourself?
Let me tell you something about me. I can sell myself. I'm from the South. We know how to talk. I have great interview skills. I know how to walk in the room my own, and I know how to walk in the room and be authentic. It's just, you got to kind of read the room and figure it out. So if I'm given an opportunity and I have you in front of me, I'm going to talk myself into an opportunity. And it's just something that I've always been good at. And so I would say that would be, because outside of not necessarily studying fashion, I just always had a good sense of style, and I could always kind of mimic wardrobe or tone down or elevate my style based on what I needed to do and how I needed to show up in the room.
Awesome. So you the Southern terminology. You had a mouthpiece that worked for you.
I had a mouthpiece that worked for me. It still works for me, and it gets me in trouble for some time, but
Understood. I love it. Right. Well, before we go any further, Mr. Harrison Thomas Crite, tell us, who is H. Diddy?
Who is H. Diddy? So H. Diddy is my alter ego. H. Diddy. I got the nickname Diddy when I was in college. So I was just involved in a lot. Student council, a lot of organizations. In college, I never really had a job. I did pictures. So, I told you that I had taken up the photography as a hobby before college when I was in Tennessee. My mom had got me a camera one year for Christmas because I was always having her take pictures of me on her phone. And that probably kind of started like the whole like personal style. But anywho, in college I took pictures. So I showed up to the parties. I had the backdrop with spray paint. I had the little HP printer, and I had like lights from Home Depot. And I'm taking pictures of people behind the scenes and printing them out. Like I just was always about the hustle. And so that's why I got the Diddy. And then Instagram came about, and then P. Diddy, his Instagram name used to be I Am P. Diddy. And so I just took that and made it I Am H. Diddy because he is someone that I've always inspired by and looked up to. And that's kind of like how H. Diddy came about.
Okay.
So it's
heavily influenced by P. Diddy. I love it. I love it. He's a true icon.
So I've actually had the opportunity. I've met him once, and that's just like made my day.
Good. Were you able to have a conversation, or was it kind of like a hi and bye?
I was able to have a conversation, but it wasn't messy. Of course, like he was around security. Ironically, we were at Fox. It was Fox Upfront. I was there with Megan Trainor. I was working with her at the time. And of course, Megan Trainor and him were hosts of before. And I had to use the restroom. Now, mind you, I knew he was there that day. And I saw him when he came in with a stylist. And I'm like, I'm going to meet him today. But literally just the way that it was with security, it was like impossible. Randomly, I had to go to the restroom. And I met him coming out of the restroom. And then he went to shake my hand. Because I guess he saw me look, because he was the only like African American man in the hallway at that time. So it was kind of like a "What's up, brother?" This was before COVID, and I didn't really want to shake his hand. And I asked him, I said, "Do you wash your hands?" And so he just bust out laughing. And I was able to tell him I was H. Diddy on Instagram, and he was like, "That's what's up." He did shake my hand. It was wet, so he did wash his hand. And then we took a quick picture, and that was that.
Nice. But that's definitely a good moment and certainly a special moment for you. You've had quite a few special moments. I was so excited to learn that Big Texas Bossin audiences would have the chance to hear directly from one of the key brains behind the fashions we fell in love with in Coming to America too. You have to tell us, Harrison, how did that happen for you and what were your inspirations?
Coming to America too was, to this day, probably one of the most fun press jobs I've ever had. So I worked with Nansomo Mbaka, who played the royal barber Marimbe in the movie. So if you guys have watched Coming to America, this is the character that Eddie Murphy's son falls in love with. And I know her from working with her in South Africa, which is a whole nother story for another day. But I ended up assisting Luxury Law, who styles Zendaya, Celine Dion, Ariana Grande. I've worked for Law for years, and randomly one Wednesday, or I think it was a Tuesday, he comes into the hotel. He was like, "I need you to go to Africa Friday," and I didn't have a passport. And literally, I had a passport in 24 hours. I had Wednesday to get the passport, Thursday to prep for the job, and I was on a flight to Africa on Friday to work with another client. And that afforded me several opportunities to go back and forth to Africa. I've been to Johannesburg about 12 times within maybe a 2.5 year period, working with different celebrities over in Africa, which is truly a whole different ballgame than working with people in the States, because it really just allows you to see like their Beyoncés, their Drakes, their Akons, their same type of celebrities, same status, but just in another country, which is kind of like mind-blowing. And I had the opportunity to work with Nansomo while in Africa a couple of times. And so when she got the role and she came over to the States, she wanted to book me to do her press. So that's how I ended up doing that, which I love, because it just shows the loyalty of, you've worked with me here and now I'm coming to your part of the country and I want to work with you. And I will always, love the fact that she chose to continue to work with me. And Coming to America was great. I got to meet Arsenio Hall, and I got to meet different people from the cast and Ruth Carter, and it was just a wonderful experience.
Yes. Well, you don't miss a beat. What's the biggest difficulty in the styling game been for you?
Just I would say visibility. Styling industry is just extremely competitive, and you just want to always have work. If you always have work, you'll always be seen, and the more you're seen, the more you're booked. Fortunately, now I am represented. That was a very big struggle as well, just having the mouthpiece of a manager or of an agent being able to advocate for you when it comes to rates. And that's like one of the biggest questions I get, like, oh, from aspiring stylists, how much do I charge for this? What are your rates for that? And my response to that is always charge what you want to pay. Because at the end of the day, if someone wants to work with you and they have the budget, get the budget. Because, starting off, you are going to take those 3 jobs, but you are going to take jobs to pay a little bit less. But just always, once you walk away from your expenses, whatever you want to go home with, that's what you need to charge. So that's my advice for that.
Okay. Do you work with people who aren't celebrities? Maybe you have business women or...
Absolutely.
You do?
Absolutely. My theory is if you got the budget, you got it. So, it just depends. I mean, it's not always about the celebrity. It's honestly just about doing your job. My job is styling. So I've worked with housewives, I work with business women, I work with realtors, I work with just, everyday people who have, jobs, who also go to events, who have to advocate for themselves within their spaces.
Right.
No, I'm not just a big celebrity at all. And I just love dressing people. And it's a vibe for me. I've gotten to the point now where I say no to a lot of things if I feel like it's not right, or if I don't have a vibe with that person. I want loyalty. I want to work with the same people. I want to create a partnership within a muse and a stylist, whereas we can build. Because oftentimes we see, especially dealing with celebrities, which is probably the best example, where, this celebrity works with this stylist one day, another stylist one day, somebody for a music video, somebody for a movie premiere, and the look changes. It's not consistent. Whereas you have your celebrities like a Rihanna, a Cardi B, Taraji Henson, who keep their same glam, their makeup styling through the whole duration of the year. And you see those people are the ones that win. Cardi B wins because her look is consistent. She works with the same people, and I respect her for elevating her team and bringing everyone up with her. So that's, to me, the makeup of being truly successful, when your team is successful as well.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I'm certainly nowhere near on your level with my game, but I do have a stylist and I do have a glam squad. Shout out to Style Bell. Shout out to Miguel of Dallas.
Nice.
Shout out to one and only Mia. They keep my look on point. And they even have rules for me. Like I can't touch my wigs. I can't touch my clothes. Okay. I mean, they're the style team from hell, but they kill it. So I definitely appreciate that. I appreciate the consistency in my look. And my look has evolved. And so I'm sure people look to you for that. The evolution of the look is something.
It is. What you just described, honestly, is the perfect marriage. You found your people that you can work with, that you have a good chemistry with, and you guys grow together. The more opportunities that you are able to get, the more they get. And you want people around you that want you to win, who are up late at night, securing looks for you, sending emails to you, emailing brands for hair, for makeup, for everything. Like, once you have your people, it's really the loyalty. And I think that, honestly, kind of lost art in the industry. Nowadays, it's more so like, well, what's the rate? Or, people will go with the cheapest person, whereas sticking with the same person. And so that's what I would say to answer your question. And I know I kind of got off subject, but the challenging part about this world is just the consistency and the visibility of continuing to push out looks that get you pressed and that get you more clients.
Well, thank you for dropping those jewels. I certainly need it. And I've got a loyal team on those bases. And, they really don't let me do a lot. But the little they do, I do appreciate it. So, and I don't mind the takeover.
That's it. Trust them. Because no one can tell you how to do your job. You know when it's time to get on that mic or when it's time to show up, how to be the personality. And the same for them. Your stylist, your hairstylist, your makeup artist, they are skilled in that area. And it's a trust thing. Of course, you can give an opinion and it's a collaboration. But once you allow your team to be your team, it's honestly a beautiful mess.
Right. It is. So what sets you apart from other stylists?
That is a great question. I would just say my personality. I am someone who is the advocate for reality TV. I love watching TV. You will notice a lot of people in this industry don't watch television. I make it a point. I'm on the plane. I'm waking up early to catch my shows because I feel like it's just a connection to the world and to the skill of being able to identify, outside of just what I do with other people's crafts. So, I take a lot of things. I'm a social media advocate, so I have a phone full of memes and, funny videos, and Instagram also is another part, just to be able, to continue to be witty and funny and comical and still come across professional, which I think is great for me. So if you follow me on social media, if you watch my Insta stories, you kind of get a glimpse of my personality outside of just me being a wardrobe stylist, which I think kind of keeps me well-rounded, grounded, and humble in the industry.
Right. And I caught your appearance on Access Hollywood. For those of you who missed it, Harrison showed out on air when he showcased his prowess, putting modern twists on some of Janet Jackson's iconic looks. How was that experience for you?
It was a wonderful experience. And honestly, I'll tell you how I ended up getting Access Hollywood. Outside of wardrobe styling, I do have aspirations to do commentary on television, stepping into your lane, being able to talk about fashion from red carpets. I love red carpets. I don't miss the red carpet. And I kind of trust myself with red carpets because it gives you the knowledge of understanding designers, knowing what people wear, which collections they come from, and what people's inspirations are. So therefore, I invested in myself. I spent $500 on a video to talk about the Oscars, to give like a red carpet rundown of some of my favorite looks. And a producer from Access Hollywood ended up seeing the video, and they booked me. And so from there, I would just say, always step out on faith, always believe in yourself. If I had never done the Oscar video, who knows if I would have ever been noticed by Access Hollywood. So I went to LA. I had about a week and a half to prepare. Janet Jackson just turned 55, so we were going over her iconic looks for over the years. And I also did they want me to talk about the looks, but they wanted me to put a modern twist on her looks. So on top of just speaking and doing the research on her, I then have to style 4 models to be able to kind of redo her looks for a kind of a modern update. And so it was just really fun. I worked at Janet saw it. Her hairstylist ended up contacting another hairstylist that hit me, and she was like, "We did such a good job, and hopefully I'll be back."
I know she said you were nasty on that. Yeah. I know Miss Jackson called you nasty. I saw it myself, and it was. I understand that you are
Thank
the
you
CEO.
so much.
You're welcome. I understand that you're the CEO of AXCEXX. What can you share with us about this venture?
Yes, so it's pronounced Access, and it is a men's but unisex accessories line. And so I just saw the void of men not having accessories. Most men who wear, say, costume jewelry or just jewelry, you don't have a jeweler and you're not spending, over $1,000 on a necklace outside of Topshop, that's closed down in a lot of states. Say like an H&M or a Zara. Most men just don't have the bandwidth to be able to find necklaces, rings, and earrings. So because I travel a lot, I go to a lot of markets, and there was just one period, I kind of go through these periods in my personal style where, 1 month I'm wearing a lot of bracelets, a lot of rings, earrings, and then the next month, like now, like I have nothing on, no jewelry. I do have on Access earrings currently. And so I just was getting hit up a lot on social media about where I would get rings from, where I would get bracelets from. And so it just made me realize that there's a void that needs to be filled. So I started this business 2 years ago. It's been doing very well, and it's unisex. So I get a lot of women customers as well. I just promote it as menswear because women can go everywhere to find jewelry. So I think it's kind of cool just to kind of have a niche market, but still being able to be accessible to everybody.
All right. Well, you know what? I cannot continue asking interview questions because I'm almost out of time with you, but you have been the bomb. You are definitely going to have to come back
Thank you so
because
much.
I know you are
Of course.
overachieving and doing things that we're going to want to talk about on Big Texas Bossin another season. Please tell our viewers how they can find you.
Of course, you can find me on social media. My Instagram is IamHDiddy. That's DIDDY. And that's my social media on everything. So you can find that on TikTok. You can find that on Twitter.
Okay. Well, I'm a fashionista, and here at Big Texas Bossin, we love to give gifts. You will be receiving our signature chocolate hat. I hope you like chocolate.
I love that.
Okay, great.
And I love it.
Thank you. Well, this will be in the mail to you a little later this week so that we can show our appreciation. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
This is such a lovely. Thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to me today.
Thank you for taking your time out to talk to us. We appreciate it. I'm so honored that you were willing to be one of our guests on the Big Texas Bossin show. I can't say enough accolades about you from the reviews of your just work history, your whole career. Angie Collins is an amazing woman who is brilliant at many things. She is an author, survivor, and publicist turned luxury shoe designer. She is also the founder of a world-renowned international women in PR organization. For more than 30 years, Angie Collins has successfully used her master's degree in public relations to amplify and publicize an extensive list of celebrity clientele. Now, the retired veteran publicist is using her decades of experience to break barriers in the fashion industry with her new luxury shoe brand, Coco Blue Collective. Angie Collins. Welcome to Big Texas Bossin.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know where to start. You have a very illustrative career, and I don't know. But we'll get started on what was your biggest obstacle and how have you survived in business for 30 years?
I think as working in the PR industry, a lot of it has to do with having the right clients and staying away from the wrong ones. It's challenging because over the years, I think I've been through different parts of it. When I first started in the early 90s, it was male dominant. So I've watched it go from male domination to female domination. And I've also watched how anybody thinks they're a publicist these days. And it kind of took the luster out of the joy out of being a publicist when somebody says, oh, because I know a lot of people are I throw parties, now I am a publicist. And, you know, they shortchange you on prices or they do it for $300 or $19.99 or whatever they think they can charge. It kind of takes away from what you're trying to do or what you're trying to build. Social media, to me, has made it difficult to really be a publicist. So, you know, 2 years ago, it was time to retire. It was time to stop.
Okay. You just threw in the towel after the big Instagram and Facebook. But before that, and I know you said you had to decide on your clients who to keep and who to let go. How did you factor that in? How did you decide this is a keeper, this is not a keeper?
I've been fortunate through my career. I was always in the right place at the right time. My background was I was an MC Hammer dancer. I'm a classically trained dancer, and I found out there was no money in it, so I didn't want to do it anymore. So I remember when Hammer first got his deal, like we used to go to the club and dance, you know, just for the heck of it.
Right.
And I remember when he got offered his deal, and like I was one of the first 6 dancers that he had. Not when I watched us go from the 6 to the 300, but at that time Tupac was dancing with Digital Underground. And so me and him became good friends. And so when he signed to Death Row Records, he was like, "You're not doing nothing with your degree, so why don't you come over here?" And because I don't trust nobody over here. So when All Eyes on Me came out, that was my campaign.
Oh, wow. You did a good job.
So something went off, like, okay, well, maybe I can do this. So I decided I was going to leave the Bay Area and go to New York. I did not know a soul, okay?
Oh, wow.
I get there, and I interned at Arista Records for like a year, and they did everything they possibly could to make me quit. And, you know, at that time, internships was not getting paid. They probably still aren't these days, but I had to I was an aerobic instructor to pay for my living in New York. And so after a year, my boss came to me and he was like, okay, so we're going to hire you and we're going to put you on tour support. So for 3 years, I went on tour with Pink when they were trying to make her black, Outkast, Linkin Park, and Usher. But I was in the New York division. I was not in the Atlanta division.
Okay.
So after that, I was offered a job to work at SOB's nightclub, which is a world-renowned nightclub. It's been there forever today. They've had everybody from Stevie Wonder to Eric Clapton on the stage. And I came along in the neo soul movement. So I was responsible for people like Jill Scott, Bilal, Music Soul Child, Felipe Kweli, Mos Def, like their very first New York performances ever.
Right.
And I ended up being there for like 3 years, and then 9/11 hit. And when 9/11 hit, the music industry changed. You know, record labels closed. People didn't know what they were doing. And at that time, I was married to somebody that was from Houston, Texas. And so he was like, you know, why don't we just go to Houston? That's where I'm from. I get to Texas, and music was called Chopped and Screwed. I was like, what is this?
Yes, land of the chopped and screwed.
Chopped and Screwed. I was like, what is this? I couldn't do it. I couldn't do the music industry. I was like, I can't do it. So one of my good friends played for the New York Jets, and that's when the Texans had just got their team. And so he was like, Angie, you're not doing nothing, so why don't you do my celebrity weekend? Which turned to be working with Allen Iverson, Plaxico Burress, Adam Pac-Man Jones, every worst player I think I had at that particular time, with the exception of Michael Vick, okay? And I had a friend that was a music attorney. She called me one day, and she goes, I have a client, you know, I know you don't do Chopped and Screw, but I got a client, he just signed a deal, you know, maybe you want to meet with him. So I go, yeah, okay, well, who is he? She said, Mike Jones. I was like, who? You know, and that was like, you know, who the heck is Mike Jones? And so I went to go meet with him, and I was like, listen, I don't know nothing about Chopped and Screw, but if you're willing to take a chance, let's just do it. So I ended up getting him on 106 in Park, and this is when he had the song out, 281, whatever the heck it was back then. And I called him while he was at 106 in Park, and then that kind of just blew his career up from there. And yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of highs. So I've always been in the right place at the right time.
Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. I love Tupac. I love what you did, you know, with that. And your body of work is definitely fluid. Can you tell us about some of the lows? Maybe.
Probably like when you have a client that you put everything into, and all of a sudden they want to go to another firm that's bigger than yours, or they want to go to a firm that, you know, in the case of Mike Jones, after billing him up, he decided that he wanted to go to a firm that represented Jay-Z, and Jay-Z had just came out with the blueprint too. So it was kind of like, dude, you're not going to be their number one client. Their number one client is going to be Jay-Z. Right. And, you know, and he was just like, well, you know, and, you know, your firm's a little small and this and that. And that's what he did, you know. I've had clients that you put your 100% into, and then, you know, they either one way or another screw you, and you get the short end of the stick. In our industry, unfortunately, it happens all the time. We get accused of stuff, you know, or they feel like the grass is greener on the other side, and, you know, everything is karma, everything is full circle. And the funny part is, I always tell people, I said, they come right back to me. Like, I ended up running into Mike Jones so I think about 3 years after that. And he's like, yeah, you know, I signed the Rock Nation, and I'm looking for great. I'm glad you're looking for a publicist. I have an organization of all kinds of publicists, but it won't be me, because I've learned never to go backwards. You only go forward.
Absolutely. That's my statement exactly. So we definitely have the same sentiments. Is there anybody you can drop a little Texas tea on and tell us who you just had to flat turn down and why? Somebody that would have been a jewel for another PR
Floyd
person.
Mayweather.
Oh,
Floyd
you
Mayweather.
turned Mayweather down? Not Money Mayweather.
I sure did. He needed a publicist for his foundation. And this at this particular time, I was living in Las Vegas. And I just couldn't do it because he wanted you to go everywhere he goes and wear TMT gear and all that. I'm not following. So, you know, I'm just not going to do it. And don't get me wrong, that contract was good. Okay.
Right.
But, you know, I always have a theory, all money's not good money. And plus I didn't get, I have to be able to get a solid vibe that I can work with you. I don't want to work with you, your manager, your agent, your flunky, your boys, and whoever else there is in the picture. I wasn't trying to do that. So no, I turned it down.
Okay. Got it. Well, that's understood, and you gave the rationale. I love it. And I've heard in the business that Floyd is hard to work for, so you probably did the best thing.
I probably would have cussed Floyd out.
Oh, well, some years back you authored a PR-related book which describes in full detail how you successfully start and build a public relations firm. How was your book received?
It still sells to this day, which is really weird to me.
Wow.
I wrote it in 2014, but it still sells. And a lot of my sales now have been like in Japan, Australia. I think because my book is not complicated. Okay. And it's always a piece of my personality. Like the first chapter is like PR does not stand for Puerto Rico. And a lot of people say that PR stands for Puerto Rico. And then so, you know, that's kind of, you know, how I act is kind of like people say when they read the book, they can hear me. Because I just gave it to them the way it was. It wasn't sugar-coated. It was simple to understand. It's like either you have it or you don't. I have a new one out that was supposed to come out in December, but due to the pandemic and the shipping situation, it's been put off. And so finally it's getting released next month, which is called Don't Be That Microwave Publicist. And that's because there's a lot of microwave publicists out there. Those are supposed PR people that think they're publicists but really aren't publicists. And I felt it was necessary to write this book because I think sometimes people see people like Cardi B's publicist and they think, oh, I'm going to get into this. It's going to be so easy. And it's not easy. You know, it's just like I still have my PR firm. And I had a young lady that worked for me. And she did a red carpet event. And I guess she thought that PR was just all about doing press releases and pitches. And she didn't know that, yes, you have to walk the carpet with a client. You know, you have to get your client pressed while you're on the red carpet. So it was too much for her. Oh, wow. So I think a lot of times these publicists are lazy. They don't realize what time of day it is and what puts in it. So, you know, I have chapters like, you know, mass is not for church because a lot of times they send out mass emails. I have the red carpet is not a selfie because I've seen publicists leave their clients to run up and take pictures with other celebrities. I'm just like, who does this? Right. But that's how Jennifer.
Wow. So getting to the core of PR, what would you tell any client if you were considering coming out of retirement and you really, really wanted to work with the client? What would you say is the core of your services as a PR firm? And what should anybody who's looking to scale their business and work with a PR firm, what should they look for?
They should look for it to see if the publicist has actually worked. Okay.
Start there.
You know, people sell stuff all day long, but if I can, you know, are they Googleable? Do you see anything about them? Do you see anything on their Instagram page? Do you see anything, you know, on their company page, their Facebook? How active are they? Those are things that you got to look for. And you know, and what I'm looking for a client is the same thing. I want to know, are you active on Facebook, or I might have to chase you down, or are you lazy? Because I don't have time. You know, this is your career. It's not mine. So I'm not going to sit there and hold your hand. I'm not going to, you know, walk you through this or, you know, whatever the case may be. If this is your career and you're hungry, then I'm going to help you, but I'm not going to do it for you.
Right. And what do you tell your clients you offer?
We do traditional PR. That means I'm going to get you in the TV, news, radio, magazine, or whatever. A lot of people get it confused because I've been in the music industry so long that they think that part of my responsibility is to get you booked on a show. That's not my responsibility. My responsibility is not to put your song on the radio. So there's a lot of confusion and where the line is on what a publicist is supposed to do. You need, if you're in the music industry and you are trying to get on the radio, you need to get a radio person.
Right.
If you're trying to book shows, you need an agent. You need a manager, not a publicist.
Right. Absolutely. Well, in your transition from PR to your pre-retirement life, I understand that you decided to open up a shoe brand. Why don't we talk about that, how you got there, what it means to you, and why are you so passionate about shoes, which I love, by the way.
Okay. So, and I'm going to have to send you some.
Thank you. Size 7, 7.5.
I got you. I'm going to get your information for Trey. I got you, okay? And I got her too. So what happened is, like in 2019, I broke my ankle.
Oh,
I was at the casino, and I was running to get out the rain, and I got to the parking garage, and I couldn't stop. And when I hit the bottom, my ankle went one way, and I went the other way. So I was laid up for like 6 months. And I'm talking about laid up, like I to the bathroom, back to the doctor's, back home. 3 surgeries, 3 casts, 3 boots.
Oh.
And so I had a lot of time to think about what I really wanted to do. And most people that follow me over the years through Instagram, I always posted shoes. I have a shoe fetish. I have like 500 and something pairs.
Okay.
Shoes, yes. They call me little mini Melda Marco.
Right.
So the transition for me was a little easy because it was something that I like to do. So I had time to investigate and figure out how do you design a shoe, where you manufacture it, where do you get them from. And I designed a shoe, and I ended up talking to the manufacturer who was over in Turkey. And I would sketch out my picture, and they would give it to an artist, and then we would go back and forth through WhatsApp and then Zoom to make it work. And so I created my line, and I sold out. I launched December 1st, and by the 3rd week of December, I was sold out.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
So, but then the problem comes with the shipping, okay, because, of that ex-president we had, shipping got, screwed up. So a lot of stuff didn't get here until like March, April.
Oh.
So in between time, what I decided to do was I launched. And then a lot of times, and I listen to what people say. Like a lot of people said that the shoe line was, kind of expensive. They wanted to support me, but we were in a pandemic. They didn't have time, to pay for, $300 or $400 for a pair of shoes. So I said, okay, let me look at ready to wear. So there's a young lady here who's been in LA forever. Her name is Miss Lola, and she used to have Lola Shoetique, and so she sells, good quality, high-end looking shoes for an affordable price.
Okay.
So I started investigating that, and I found that all the shoe manufacturer per se are here in LA.
Oh, wow.
And I started with 4 pairs, and I sold out the 4, and then I started building from there. And then that's what you see on my website is we drop new shoes every Tuesday. We do photo shoots every Wednesday for the new shoes that drop on Tuesday. And I try to keep my price points from $25 to, like, if a boot, the most expensive thing would be $175. And I'm doing well at it because my price points are good.
Right.
And I have good quality products, and I ship the same day.
Oh, wow.
So if it's in stock and it's not a pre-order, it ships the same day.
Okay. Now, are you handling all of that yourself?
I have a team,
Okay.
but I'm very hands-on. I'm a Virgo. I'm very anal. So I have to open up everything, touch everything, smell everything, because I don't want somebody to say, I bought these shoes and they're a piece of crap and they're going to call me.
Right.
Or I'm complaining against you. Because I had one person that ordered a pair of shoes for his girlfriend. They were the wrong size. Okay? So by the time he emailed me back, we were sold out of the shoes.
Oh, wow.
So he says, well, I want a refund. I have a no refund policy because it's COVID. I don't know where your shoe's been, and I can't resell that shoe.
Right.
Okay? But however, you could do an exchange and get a store credit because I have to send that shoe back to the manufacturer. So he tells me, well, if I can go to Nordstrom's and Neiman Marcus, I said, first of all, you said 2 keywords, Nordstrom's and Neiman Marcus. I don't have quality control like they do.
Right.
So he was like, well, this is not fair. And he just went on and threw this whole little tantrum about these shoes. And so So his girlfriend gets on my Instagram page. So these shoes are badly made, this, that. And I had people that had that same shoe, and they got underneath and made comments about, I don't know what shoe you bought, but my shoe is fine, and everybody loves my shoe. So it's you're always going to have that one person that's just not going to be happy.
Right. You will. One of the other things that is very important that we talk about, and I know our time is cutting down, but I definitely have to find out, what was the inspiration behind your International Women's Organization and the things that you're doing with it? Because I think that's an awesome idea. I think that is definitely putting in the work and giving back. So you're giving your time, your talent, and support to these women. But how did you decide that you could still do that and still make contributions to the PR world through an international women's organization? So you haven't limited it in any way.
Because, so I started Women in PR in 2011 with a partner, Tammy Atmore, and Tammy passed away from cancer in 2014. But we started it because we were getting interns that weren't properly trained. They weren't learning anything in school. And so we started with this organization by going on the road teaching workshops with PR. And every city we went to, it was sold out. And I think a lot of times people were surprised that I was a person of color that has this organization. And we had our first conference like in Miami in 2011. And then we had one after that each year because it kept getting bigger and bigger. And then don't get me wrong, I've had conflicts with people along the way. Like I had a conflict with one of the biggest white publicists at that time, which was Kelly Catrone, and she tried to say my organization was a fraud, all kind of stuff because because she didn't start it. I don't know what her problem was. But anywho, I had to let her know what time of day it was because she had a TV show on Bravo at that time, or evening, or I don't know what it was. And I told her, I know exactly where your apartment is. I said, if you keep talking, I'm going to come make a visit to you. Okay? Because I'm from the Bay Area, and we don't play that, so I'll come show up at your doorstep. So after that, I guess she figured I was kind of crazy, left me alone. When Tammy passed away in 2014, it got to be a lot for me to try to juggle my clients and the organization at the same time.
Okay.
So I put it in a hiatus, but I left the Facebook page open and the groups open so people could still have dialogue with each other as far as if they needed help or whatever the case may be. In 2017, when I decided to retire, I opened it back up because that way I have more time to apply to this organization. And since then, we're 13,000 strong all over the world.
Oh, congratulations.
From here to Dubai. Yeah, from here to Dubai, all races, all creeds, all colors. And I'm proud of it. It hasn't always been an easy struggle, but I'm really, really proud of it. We offer workshops, webinars, we have resources. I bring in other publicists. We do virtual summits have been like the bomb because, we don't show up in person anymore. Right. Virtual summits, bring on other publicists so people can ask them questions or get affiliated. It's just basically an organization where people can really understand the game of PR and not be one of those microwave publicists.
Yes. I love it. You're definitely putting in the work. We've talked about your career, how it launched your clients. We've talked about definitely your survival skills. We've definitely gone into other things, your shoe line, your International Women's Organization that you have. Is there anything else that we need to know about Angie Collins?
I am a 2-time cancer survivor.
Oh, wow. That is amazing.
Through all of this, I am a 2-time ovarian cancer survivor.
Oh, wow.
And the crazy part is, I always tell people the story because in 2005, when I first got diagnosed, I'll never forget the doctor told me I had 90 days to live. Because I was stage 4.
Okay, what type of cancer?
At that time, I had cervical cancer.
Okay. Well, stage 4.
Stage 4. Wow. And so I opted, to have a hysterectomy. Okay. And he decided that he wanted to leave my ovaries because he said I wouldn't go into early menopause. And at that time, I was in my 40s. And I'm like, I'm going to go to menopause anyway, so what difference does it make, right?
Right.
And he was like, well, I'm just like, okay, whatever. See, and I was real ignorant to the fact then. I didn't know a lot about cancer as I know now.
Okay.
And, I went through the whole chemo. A lot of people didn't even know because I would still get up and I work every day.
Right.
And, if I was in pain or wasn't feeling good, nobody ever knew. So in 2015, I kept saying I had a pain on my side, and I go to the doctor, and they said there was a cyst on my right arm. So they took the biopsy, and then it came back cancerous, and it was stage 2. And so I was like, well, we're going to take them out this time, both of them. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing chemo. I didn't even do chemo the second time around. I did everything holistically. Follow Dr. 3B, the whole 9 yards, and so and marijuana. And one day I went to go see him, and he was like, your white cells count is good. What is going on? And he said, the chemo must be working. I said, dude, I ain't took that chemo since chemo took you, okay? So he was like, what? What are you talking about? I said, I haven't taken chemo, period. Right. So I said, I'm learning that cancer's big business is a big game. I said, just like you told me in 2005, which is how many years ago, that I only had 90 days to live. I'm still living today. I said, so the only way I'm going to go out this pictures unless the man above must be out this pictures. It's not going to be because of your little scientific stuff or whatever the heck you guys got going on. It's not going to happen behind it. I said, now, I might get out there and get hit by a bus or something like that, but it ain't going to be because of cancer.
Right. Well, you're definitely a survivor. Thank you. Tell our audience where they can find you, please.
You can follow me on Instagram at I am Angie Collins, and it's ANJE Collins. Facebook is Angie Collins, and Twitter is the same. You can follow my organization at Women in PR #1 on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you want to shop my shoes, you can go to cocoblueshoes.com for ready to wear, and Coco and Blue Collective if you want to do the luxury line. And the luxury line has men and women's shoes.
Oh, awesome. Well, we'll definitely finish checking it out, because I've been on there and you've got some really bad pieces.
Well, you let me know what you need, because I got you.
Okay, thank you. Before we go, I want you to know that you will be getting a little gift from Big Texas Bossin. It's a little chocolate hat. So I hope you like chocolate. Right, yes. So we'll get that put out in the mail to you this week. And I just want you to know that I appreciate you being on our show. And I look forward to big things from you to continue, Angie. You are definitely a boss, and I appreciate you again. Have a good one.
And thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes this episode of Big Texas Bossin. I hope you all got the tea and really enjoyed it. You can follow us on all of our social medias at Big Texas Bossin, BOSSIN, and follow us on our website, www.bigtexasbossin.com. Y'all come back now.